Okay, so we are making Scottish shortbread cookies, and these are one of the simplest and personally most delicious cookies I've ever come across. And it has 3 ingredients that you probably already have. Butter, and I mean butter, not margarine, butter, brown sugar, and flour. That's it. So you cream the butter. It's not as warm as I thought it was. You cream the butter with your brown sugar, and then you mix in the flour. Actually, this is a lot easier. If I had a bigger kitchen, my stand mixer would be out, but I don't, so it's not. But actually, that was super easy and far better than I could have done with a spoon. I suggest if you do that, wear gloves, because otherwise it's going to be forever getting the butter out of your rings. Sorry, that was delicious. Okay, so you add most of the flour, reserving a little bit for the board. Okay, so 1, 2, recipe calls for, and this is half a recipe too, 2 1/4 cups, put in 2, reserved a quarter. One thing the recipe says that I don't personally agree with is to knead it for 5 minutes. If you knead this for 5 minutes, the gluten will start glutenizing, and it will be tough. So what I do is I work it until it comes together, and I'm not worried about it falling apart, and I call it good, because you don't want those gluten bonds to form. When you're making bread, yeah, sure, that's what you want. When you're making cookies, you don't want that. And something like this, I definitely do it in the bowl, because otherwise it would just be a huge mess. There. So basically you just want to work it until it comes together, like with all cookie doughs. And these brown spots are just hard pieces of brown sugar, so it's no big deal. There. Perfect. Okay. And perfectly delicious. And the recipe says roll out to a 1/2 inch thick. Excuse me. Allergies are just so fun. 1/2 inch thick. You don't want it to be too thick, but you don't want it to be too thin. And then you cut it into strips. That's good. Now, you cut it into strips and then you poke it with a fork. And what that does is it keeps the whole thing from blowing up, and it just keeps it from blowing up. Okay, I use a pizza cutter because life is a lot simpler with pizza cutters. Pizza cutters are not just for pizza. These are super easy to store. You can put them in an airtight container. Honestly, I put them in Ziplocs. But whatever. And it's okay to have little pieces. There. Okay. You can make these as perfect as you want or as imperfect as you want. Either way, they taste awesome. Okay. Then I have my cookie sheet with, of course, parchment paper on it because I would be nowhere without it. And offset spatulas are a lifesaver. And you cook them actually kind of low and slow. 325 for, I think it said 20 minutes, 20 to 25 minutes, until they are light golden brown. Obviously, if they're thinner, which actually I think these are, they're going to cook a little faster. So you don't want them to brown a lot, but just starting. And these cookies are super tender. They will poof up a little bit, so make sure there's room in between. Now this recipe, if you're an adventurous person, you can use it for the base of a pie, if you're into making your own pies, or other types of cookies, like if you want to cook these and then put caramel on them and maybe some coconut and some chocolate, then this is a perfect cookie base. So yeah, get creative. Why not? The thing I like about parchment paper is, since you are not putting any oil on it, if you don't need it, you just roll the parchment paper up, save it for later, and your cookie sheet is still clean, and so you don't have to worry about that, because I've done that before. And I personally just am not thrilled about having to cook or having to clean a cookie sheet that I never used. Or I'll just wait and spray them as I go. But anyways, Alrighty, so you throw these in the oven and we'll be back. Okay, so these are our cookies all done. See, there's a light brown, and if you flip them over, they're just lightly brown on the bottom. These do not puff up much vertically. They just do a little spread, like we all do when we get older. So if you want them, I personally like them thin like this. And make sure you let them cool before you take them off, otherwise they just fall apart because they're really tender. So if you want them a little bit thicker, that's how thick you need to roll them out. So, but anyways, they are super awesome. Great with coffee or midnight snack. Enjoy and have fun.